Hey everybody, welcome to another exciting episode of Javier in the Air. That's right, Javier in the Air. For those of you who have not seen the show before, welcome. Welcome to my little part of the internet where I try to interview people who are passionate about something, mom and pop businesses, and then also do a little bit of my own segments, which you've seen mostly if you've been here before. I haven't had a lot of interviews lately, so but regardless of that, we're going to continue with the show and hope that we get some more down the road. So why not, right? So if you haven't been around much, if you are in the Texas area, you know that it is hot now. It is time for the hottening to begin. For those of you who may be outside of Texas, I know it's been a stellar winter and fall. It's still fall, but for Texas, that's just a pre-summer. We're just beginning to pre-cook ourselves and our gardens and our roads and everything that you can think of. So, yes. So in other words, it's beginning to get hot. If you have been following my show, you know that the Pavlovskis have a stellar garden going this year. Everything they throw out there seems to grow, which is good for them. And so they're doing well. We're going to talk to them probably in another week or so, and they're going to talk. Hopefully, they'll talk to us a little bit about their garden and about the canning that they started doing because they're actually getting a bumper crop this year. So hopefully, we'll hear from them in a couple weeks. And as for my gardening, it's there. It's not great. It's not good. It's not bad. But I did manage to grow a sunflower that I think I mentioned last week. I have no idea how it got there. Probably the birds pooping as they cross the garden because I have one and only one. But it's big and it has like 9 heads on it. So that's a good thing. Hopefully I might be able to get some sunflower seeds out of it. It'll be very interesting. It's growing well. But it's also very stingy. It likes other sunflowers, but it does really deep roots, and so it kind of interferes with anything else that I might want to put in that garden bed. I do have some alpine strawberries that are finally beginning to grow. Very little, couple of flowers on there, but I think the heat killed them this past weekend. I've been trying to water at night, so good luck for me. Hopefully, they will eventually give me some strawberries. And eventually, I also planted last night, replanted some mouse melons. For those of you who may know them also as kuka melons. Also, I replanted the purple flesh watermelon. That's right, watermelon that will have purple on the inside. So they didn't grow last season or the season before. The other melons grew, but no purple. So I decided this year, or this season for right now, only plant them and see if I can get them going because maybe they got killed out by the other melons that were growing in that garden bed. So we'll see. Wish me luck. If you are a gardener in my area or a gardener who just wants to show off their garden, by all means, send me photos or videos or get a hold of me however you can, and I'd love to have you on the show, especially if you're doing something different. The Pavlovskis have a lot going on, so that's always fantastic, and I try to grow the unusual stuff to see if it grows, because I mean, who wants to hear the 15th story about the melons? I know I don't, so it would be great if I can actually get something other than just the normal stuff growing. So we'll see how it happens. Okay, so this is week 46 of my Trash in the Hood series. For those of you who are new, I have been walking at least twice a week and picking up trash. It started about 46 weeks ago. A couple of weeks prior to that, I was walking and I noticed that there's a lot of cigarette butts and a lot of empty trash around the streets that I walked on. This is not coming from, the trash men or women that empty the bins and then put the bins back down and this stuff flies out. This is nowhere near any of those trash bins. I can assure you. This is just people who throw away their cigarette butts when they're driving through my neighborhood and that sort of thing. So I have talked to some people that are beginning to pick up some trash as well, and good for them. You can do it too if you want. You don't have to. I'm not here to guilt you into anything, but it's always a way for me personally to keep myself accountable to going out there and walk. So week after week, sometimes I was actually in a great mood and was feeling good, so I was able to get 4 or 5 days going. Sometimes due to the chill, due to it being way too hot, due to me being sick, or due to work, I was only able to get out there like 2 days a week. The past couple of weeks, unfortunately, has been one, which is really sad. But I got two this week, so I'm happy for that. And I'm up to week 46, so maybe I'll have some sort of trash celebration week 52. Doubtful, but anyway, I continue at it. Thank you for the words of encouragement that I have gotten from almost everybody, so I appreciate that. So let's see what I have from week 46. Dark Frog Social Media presents Trash in the Hood, week 46. Okay, so here is day one, week 46, day one being Monday. And as you can see, there's a lot of stuff that I unfortunately encountered that day. Cigarette butts and vape pens and crushed soda cans and Sonic to go containers and a belt and some straps and a bunch of like a tea bottle and some cardboard underneath all that. So it was a crazy day. It almost filled up my bag, which leads me to this day, which is day 6 or Saturday. This actually did fill up my bag, and underneath it is an HEB plastic bag, recyclable, of course, to-go containers and water and tea bottles and crushed cans and a couple of vape pens and some liquor bottles and mini liquor bottles and just a bunch of food wrappers and candy wrappers and trash all together. Again, none of this was on coming from a trash bin. This is all up and down, like I think this day was up and down Hatch and El Salito Parkway. So crazy couple of days. So for those of you who follow my show and have been giving me some comments, thank you. For those of you that are new, welcome again. So I've gotten some feedback about the trash that I talked about a little bit before I started showing this last week I did in regards to where the trash is coming from. Well, the trash is coming from everyday people out in the street. So I know the cigarette butts, a lot of them are where a lot of the construction vehicles park, and a lot of the mud people park, and because I've seen them there when I walk sometimes early morning or around lunchtime. So I know that's a lot where that's coming from. Plus, I was walking up on 620 yesterday actually, and a lot of that comes from people driving up and down 620. So they may have regard for their neighborhood, but they're not in their neighborhood now, are they? So of course they flick a lot of the cigarette butts to the side of the road, or actually in the middle of the street, but on 620, because of all the high traffic area, blows it all into one side or the other, and the side I walk on is covered in grass, so there's a lot of cigarette butts that get lodged there. And then the other thing I get questions about is not only why do I do it, but why do I continue to do it? Because it seems like it's a never-ending battle. And that's true, but you pick up around your house, don't you? You pick up trash from your food that you eat and from things that you unwrap, and you do your dishes, right? Well, that's a never-ending battle. So it's kind of along the same lines, a little different, but still close, similar to what everybody does every day in their house and their household and their apartment or wherever they live. So the other thing is that it keeps me accountable, because I know that I do it, and it bothers me that it goes undone on days that I don't do it. So I thought it best that I just continue picking up the trash. Besides, it doesn't hurt anybody. I mean, in fact, it helps everybody in the long run. So that's good. And then the other one was There was an issue that happened up on Hatch Road on the Circle K there, that happened on a Friday night 2 weeks ago now, and people were thankfully concerned and asked me about it. Not too much to tell, really. Not too much I want to go into here because it's just isn't that kind of show. It was an unfortunate incident, and it was a looks like a singular incident, at least for now. It had nothing to do with it being a Circle K, or it just happened to be that location that this person pulled into. And so um, I am being safe as I always am. I try not to walk too late at night, even though this was like 9:50 p.m. on a Friday, so that's not late at all. Again, it was a singular incident, and I appreciate people's concerns. But an old man there picking up trash is usually not going to get confronted by somebody in the manner that that person was unfortunately confronted. So, but thank you for your concern. I always try to keep an extra eye out for anything that's going on. If I see altercations, I definitely try to avoid them at all costs. So, now that being said, we are now going to go into our next segment, which has to do with being healthy after 50. Some people have asked me, what about under 50? And if I can find someone who wanted to be on the show on a regular basis, or even a semi-regular basis, and wanted to show you how to be healthy under 50, then I would gladly have that portion on the show. But since I am over 50, I have to go with Healthy After 50. So let's take a look at today's episode of Healthy After 50. Dark Frog Social Media presents Healthy After 50. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of our segment of Healthy After 50. So I've been trying to rack my brain and come up with different things that that are important for people that are over 50 for the most part. People that are interested in being able to be active or active again, and people that are just trying to keep themselves in a somewhat orderly, fit fashion as they enter into what used to be called the twilight years. Now that got shoved off way, way further down than just being in your 50s and even in your 60s. So, and kudos to everyone, by the way, who are staying active and are not having any problems getting up, getting off of the ground, getting onto the ground, getting in and out of a chair, and in and out of the facilities in the restroom, if you know what I'm talking about. So, one of the things I wanted to talk about today, because I was doing it this weekend, which was gardening. So, gardening can be very beneficial to not only the plants and flowers that you grow outside in nature, but it can be very beneficial for the individual or individuals who are doing it. So, if you haven't started gardening yet, and you want to start gardening, I would recommend starting out very small. If you have a house, I would start a very small garden bed in your backyard. Make room for it. It doesn't even have to be more than 2 by 2 foot, really. You can use leftover wood, and somebody can, or if you know how to build one, you can build one and do that. So one of the things that does happen with gardening is you have a lot of bending over, you have a lot of stooping, you have a lot of squatting, and you have a lot of kneeling. So one of the things you want to keep or you want to be aware of is that all those things can put wear and tear on your body, and if you're not used to it, it's going to be a problem for at least for a little while. Even if you were being active, these are different movements that you may not be used to, or your body used to and body comfortable with, and so you may have some aches and pains after you garden for the first time. So for those of you who are gardening, you know you need to keep your back in good shape, you need to keep your arms in good shape, and you need to keep your legs in good shape. So one of the things I recommend for those who have not been gardening for a while, or those who haven't been gardening at all and want to start, is I recommend doing some very slow body squats that you saw earlier in a couple episodes ago that I showed. Very slow. You don't have to be a CrossFitter. You don't have to get perfectly parallel. That's for those guys. If you can do it, fantastic. Then you're already ahead of the game. If you can't, just keep trying and do, 3 or 4 or 5, and do that a couple of sets. That's a set of 5. Try to do a couple of sets of those prior to gardening. If you have bad knees like I do, I recommend you getting some gardening knee pads that you can then put your knees on. I have one knee that I just cannot put any weight on at all, even with a knee pad. So I tend to wear out the one knee pad, but then I can use the other one, so that's fine. So I tend to bend over more, and I bend over at the hips. I don't keep my legs straight or anything like that. My back is loose. Fortunately for me, because I've done a lot of kettlebell exercises, which I still do, and other exercises, I know how to bend without causing an issue or strain on my back. There are times it still does, but I recommend if you have knee problems and you can't use knee pads, I would recommend trying to do little squats here and there throughout the day to try to help you, so that when you have to bend over to prune, to plant, to lay out, the garden bed itself, then it won't be as problematic as it would be if you're not doing anything. I also recommend purchasing a small kettlebell so that you can do some back exercises. And I would look at if you're going to go on YouTube, I would look at some of my episodes that showed kettlebell swinging. But if you don't want to go there, you can certainly look, and I would look for the ones that say CrossFit. Now, those are pretty aggressive, but you can scale it down to yourself, and you can go very slow with a very light weight. The form there is really good normally, especially if it comes from a CrossFit gym. So you want to look for something that's coming from a gym like that, and then you can replicate those. So then you also want to be careful with your back when you go to Lowe's or Home Depot or anywhere, any kind of nursery where you're going to be picking up soil and sand and rocks. You always want to lift with your legs. You always want to go into almost like a squat, and you want to lift up that way. I might have to show some, or I probably will show some exercises a couple weeks down that you can do for gardening to make sure that you stay limber. So, all in all, exercises, I know as much as we hated it as a kid, as much as we hated it as a teenager and an adult, is something that we have to continue to do to stay healthy as the days get shorter for those that are after 50. So, get into your gardens, do some gardening, send me some photos of you gardening and squatting or whatever you want to do, and I'll get them on here. Otherwise, just keep at it. Okay, so there you had our Healthy After 50 moment. And thanks again for people's comments and suggestions. They are beginning to bear fruit, so to speak. As in, this one was a recommendation, is to talk about gardening and exercises for gardening. So I appreciate the person that sent that in, and we will have more like that. I also got good feedback on the one where I actually showed pictures of how to do it. So I will probably be doing more of that, even though I know I look horrible doing it. But then again, we don't want somebody who's epically totally fit to be showing that to the rest of us, do we? Chances are no. Chances are we want somebody like me, probably less than me, but not super fit, to show that you can still do exercises no matter what size, weight, age, or height you are. Okay, so now we're going to go into our Zen moment. No poem today, but I thought it would just be play something chill with some nice background to it, and also some of the comments I've gotten. Yes, the Zen that I do, the music is from the Wonder Show Filmora editing software that I use, and it is royalty free. I did pay for the license, so I guess that gives it somewhat of a royalty. They call it royalty free, or at least I do. And then the pictures or the images that you see, a lot of them are from that as well. So thanks for asking. There are a couple, and I usually try to say when they're from me. And so, but you can tell because one is from my camera and the other one is from some super high lens camera, movie camera, whatever that they do for the 4K ones that I put out here. So without further ado, here is our Zen moment. Hey everyone, so I hope everybody is calm and chill from that Zen moment. It was actually the bit itself, the audio bit was called Relaxing on a Warm Day. So I hope you enjoyed that. And I have gotten one feedback from that, liking it, also liking the poetry that's on there. So thank you for that. Okay, so we're going to move into our spirit times now. So, thankfully, a couple weeks ago, I was able to make it out to see Scott and Jana out at the boutique, and I have gathered some of their more unique named beers. They may not be unique as far as flavor goes, but they could be. And they're definitely unique as far as some of the names and as far as the images go for that. So here is our Spirit Times. Dark Frog Social Media presents Spirit Time. This week, Churro Grande by Boulevard Brewing Company. Hey everybody, welcome to Spirit Time. So I got the question why Spirit Time, and it's because in the beginning when I was just doing beer reviews, I was just doing, hey, here's a beer review. But then I got some suggestions that were like, why don't you try opening it up to not just beer, but to alcohol as well. So I went from just beer to beer or wine or a liquor or liqueur. So all those, and so that makes it whereas more spirits than not. So I got the great suggestion for Spirit Time, and this is where I have it, Spirit Time. So I've been showing off my beer glasses that I made or that I got from different distilleries and breweries and stuff like that. So beer and whiskey glasses and that sort of thing. But this one I grabbed thinking that it was a beer, but it's not. This is actually from Alamo Draft House. When during some of the specials they were doing for movies, you could get, like, if you paid extra, you got a t-shirt and a glass and like a drink or something sometimes. This one was from Star Wars. This is The Force Awakens. So here's The Force Awakens. You see right there. Let me go higher. There you go. And it's got some cool stuff on there, some fight scenes and that sort of thing. So and I did pay for the glass in case some trademarking thing or whatever comes up if they're watching my show. Anyway, so this is the glass I'm going to be using today. I already picked it, so if I picked it, I'm going to use it, and that's how it works. So this is a limited edition, limited release, I should say, beer. This was recommended to me by Scott and out at the boutique, and he recommended it, said it had a little spice to it, hopefully not too much. Not that I'm afraid of spice, I just don't like a lot of spice in my beer. I'm putting on my glasses so I can read it. This is Boulevard Brewing Company out of Kansas City, Missouri, and this is their barrel-aged Churro Grande. Churro Grande for all the Spanish speakers out there. It's an Imperial Brown Ale with cinnamon and natural flavors. This is a limited release. I thought it was supposed to have some spices to it, but maybe not. So let's give it a shot. So here is the glass, and it's a bottle this time, not a can like I always have. There is the, I'm trying to get it so there's not a glare on there. There you go. Boulevard Churro Grande. So it says churro, so I'm expecting it to be somewhat sweet, as the churros are that are made here and there and everywhere. Specifically out of the Texas Fair, by the way. So here is a cool shot of the cap. If you can see that, I see if I can cover up. There you go. A little bit better. So interesting cap. I like to show off all the little things. And so now I'm gonna try it. I can already smell what smells like bread. I know the bro likes to have a lot of head on his beer in the beginning, but me not so much, because I like to be able to get to the beer, especially for the show. So here it is, a very dark, as I said, it was an Imperial Brown Ale, as opposed to the other Imperial Ales. Let me see if I can get the rest of this in here, which I can. Fantastic. Thank you for bottles. Okay, so quick shout out to some of the to my grandmother Ayala, who used to love her beer, and my grandfather Ayala, who used to love his beer as well. Getting their tall boys and their bottles, and my grandfather used to be able to crack them open with his teeth. I would never try that. I like my teeth too much. So, but there's to them. Just a quick memory that I thought I'd bring up for those of you in the family that remember them. Okay, so definitely a bread-like smell to it, which kind of maybe from the churros, I don't know. Definitely an ale taste to it, specifically the brown ale. So it's a darker, it's heavier on the palate. By the way, this is also a 13.5 ABV. Let me say that again, 13.5 ABV. So those of you who know your ABV, this is kicking it. Let me try again. Hold on a second. I'm definitely beginning to tell that it's barrel aged. It's kind of thick on the tongue. It goes down smooth. It's got a smooth thing, a little bit of an alcohol kick to it. That's the 13.5 that you can taste. But this is tasting more like a. No, let me one more just in case. This is pretty thick. I mean, I know it's a brown ale, but still, this to me almost tastes like a alcoholic chocolate sauce, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it's not necessarily what I expected from a brown ale. But it is Churro Grande, so maybe that's what's getting it to give me more of a chocolate kick to it, even though there's no chocolate in it. But that's interesting that to me, it kind of tastes like watered down chocolate sauce. It's not bad. It's very heavy. I would not recommend this with meat or a heavy meal or anything like that. Maybe if you're gonna eat something, I would say probably pretzels, but not like the big pretzel kind, just the little pretzels with a little bit of salt on there, so that it goes down well, because you're not going to want to have a lot of stuff with this. Excuse me, but it is tasty. I do like it. I probably myself would probably have this by itself and with no food or anything like that. And I would save this for like the end of my drinking night. Start out something light like we talked about last week, and then wind up with something like this. So I do like the taste on it. So I do have to say that I'm gonna give this 7.5 thumbs up. So 1.5 thumbs up. Yes, I go on a 1 to 10 thumbs up scale. And so people out there in Boulevard, not too shabby. I don't know if it's what you were trying to get. If you have a question, comment, or concern about my tasting of your Churro Grande, by all means, please feel free to reach out to me. Also, if you want to send me some of your samples so that I can say that I'm getting it right from the source and not through a third party, or if you'd like to just come on the show and discuss why you think it should be higher than a 7.5 thumbs. By all means, that's fantastic. We'd love to have you on the show. And that's it for our spirit time. So I'm going to have the rest of this, and then I'll wrap up everything at the end. So thanks a lot, everybody. Well, shoot, I knew we couldn't make it every week to 30 minutes or less. Sorry about that, Ma. So I did my best, but I got a little long in the tongue on this. And so I'd like to just thank everybody for watching the show. If you have someone who may be interested in watching the show, specifically the beer review or talking about the Healthy After 50, please show them my link, which you can be found. It can be found on YouTube, Javier In The Air, not on the air, in the air. Also, my YouTube handle is Javier In The Air 01. You can also find it if you're friends with me on Facebook. You can find it that way as well. So enjoy the rest of your week. I will be back at this again next Sunday, and maybe I'll have maybe a little change up in the lineup. We'll see. This has been going so well for me. I don't like to change it at this point. So thanks a lot, everyone. Have a good one. I'll see you again soon.